Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi.
There's 3 good seats still available.
Well, we've actually kind of filled them up over here. I thought this was going to be like Old Municipal Stadium. This is nice.
This is broadcast worldwide as well, or will be. So,
and on the Armed Forces Radio Network.
We are big in Sweden.
That's right.
Not as big in Finland. That's because of Lima.
So we're going to turn the tables here a little bit today. You guys typically do the interviewing. People can hear your opinions any day of the week, any weekday, and on the Emerging Podcast and on Fox 8 and WIO. There's any number of places, but rarely do we get to hear your broadcasting journey. So today we wanted to take some time and talk to you guys about where it started, where it is, and where it's going. And we appreciate you being here today. We're with Anthony Lima and Ken Carman from Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan, the flagship radio home of the Cleveland Browns. Your Cleveland Browns.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Anthony, I'm going to start with you. I have a tremendous amount of respect and appreciation for your journey because I'm decades old at this point, and I still don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm still trying to figure it out. But you, from a very young age, you seem to have that inclination of what you wanted to do. You were interested in sports. You were calling into sports shows, and here you are. You've gone from sports boy Tony to now what I call you as sportsman Anthony. You've grown up in this business. How did you know? Where did that come from at such a young age that you had an interest in sports and the trajectory of calling into sports shows, and now here you are on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan?
Thank you, Jeremy. Am I supposed to handle this like a debate? Thank my opponent and then start ripping them? Oh, no, it's not a debate. Okay.
You can rip me anytime you want.
We will commence the ripping in short order.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting us. And Jeremy very, very elegantly put it that I think his dad, the legendary pioneer of Cleveland Sports Talk Radio, Les Levine, a big reason why I got into the business. And I think I'm no different from a lot of the kids I see here and the kids that have evolved into adults, that we all were fascinated and immersed ourselves into the world of Cleveland sports and just sports in general. And I think just growing up and being a huge fan, watching everything I could, absorbing everything I could. I was a card collector back in the day, not just for my tires and the spokes of the tires. Like, I actually collected cards. I had Beckett. I was trying to get a ride to Menor where there was some dude who was actually paying me for cards. So that's a little bizarre as a child, but now you see the immense business this has become, and it's no different from, I think, that what I ended up doing for a living, which is talking to obsessed sports fans, people that are in love with sports in general. And I still haven't fallen out of that love. And I think it's probably the same for Ken. Like, we didn't think we could actually make money doing this. We just wanted to fake it as long as we could. And now we get to fake it and actually draw a paycheck. And I think I get benefits. So that's pretty cool.
Your wife does.
She gets benefits, yeah. She gets me out of the house every morning.
Yeah.
But I think that's the commonality I think everybody in this building right now has. The world of sports, you can have a career in it, believe it or not. Not a lot of people can make a bunch of money doing it, but a lot of people can have fun, turning it into a career.
Well, I mean, in terms of what Lima just said, I think it's the same thing. Lima's actually got to do a little bit more traveling than I have. I've got to do none of it. I've been blessed to be here, my entire life, my entire career as well. So, Lima got to see what it was like in Syracuse and Parkersburg, Western New York, and all the other places where I've only got to see it here. So, this is all I know. Lima's got to see it, and he understands that it's probably bigger and more important in this region than it is in a lot of other regions. That says something, because I think it's very important in Western New York. I'm the same way like Anthony was. I grew up, my mom actually got my first collection started. Those are still packed away in boxes in a storage unit. She got upset because I didn't realize, I thought we were supposed to put them all together and by the team. I didn't realize she had them all, because I thought she was doing it wrong. I didn't realize she had it lined by the number in all the packs and how it was supposed to go. I didn't know that. So I remember that was like one of the few arguments I ever had with my mother. But she always had them all lined up. And then my mom worked at a sporting goods store in Canton when I was a kid. and they had the big rolls of uncut cards, and that was like something you didn't touch. So I learned about that early in my life. My mom got that job when I was 5 years old, and she worked there a long time. And so I've been kind of at least on the side of all this my entire life. I've really, because I've had some things that I've been blessed to meet people. I value pictures more than I value some of the memorabilia and stuff like that. But always when I end up in someone's rec room or I end up in someone's living room, I always find really cool pieces that I always like. I know the late Matt Lody had a lot of really nice things that he would always show us, and things like new pieces that he had got and stuff like that. So it was always a lot of fun to see that.
Do you remember, anybody remember here, my first run-in with a coveted error card? Dale Murphy. There was a Dale Murphy error card, and then there was a Billy Ripken.
You beat me to it.
The Billy Ripken, and we actually had Billy Ripken come on the show.
And he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to, no, remember, he didn't want to talk about it.
Weird. It was bizarre.
And we're like, Billy, this is basically the reason we're having you on, is to talk about the card. If that, we're just going to ask you about your brother, because I don't think anybody, I'm sorry, Billy, I don't think anybody really cares. Right. It got contentious, but you know what, whatever. We haven't talked to him since, so no big deal. No big deal at all.
We're here at the Great Lakes Collectors Convention presented by Greeny Sports Cards on the Card Show live stage, powered by Collectibles on SI. We're talking with Ken Carman and Anthony Lima from the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima, coincidentally, on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Ken, your first job, if you will, was, I believe, on Friday Night Football in the Akron area, and then you had an evening show in that area as well. That's the first time I recall hearing you, and again, as well, I have a tremendous amount of respect for your journey here on the sports airwaves. At this point in your careers, you've kind of hit that middle of the road where you're not rookies, you're not new to this, you're still finding your way and establishing your names and your brands. But you guys have been on the Fan since the beginning. You both have careers in TV. At what point did you find your voice? When did you become Ken Carman, not just a booming voice, but the proverbial, when did you get comfortable in your own skin? When did you realize this is not just a career, but this is who I am?
Well, honestly, it's when I had kids. When my first son was born, I think that's when I kind of got more assured of it, because I was raising a family with it then. But before that, I really did not know. It was touch or go there for a little bit when I first got married. You know, I'd been laid off from a job previously, right 3 weeks before I got married. And it was funny because my father-in-law got laid off from a job 3 weeks before he got married. So I feel bad for my sons, because obviously they're going to be laid off 3 weeks before they all get married. So it's a family tradition now. So it was, and I remember my wife was actually a little bit relieved, because I was burning the candle at both ends. I tend to do it still now. And I had about 4 jobs at the time. 3 of them were in broadcasting, but you know, none of it seemed to be really going anywhere. The Fan started up. I was blessed to get the interview. I got the interview here basically by making a call and a couple of references, and I did that right after I got back from a baseball road trip. But really, I didn't know. It was funny. I was talking to Anthony about this earlier last week. I said I didn't know I was supposed to be interviewing for the night show when I got here. I thought I was going to be doing updates, and I thought I was going to be. I saw an open position for the third mic, an update guy on the midday show on Baskin and Phelps. So I thought that's what I was going to do. I thought that's what I was interviewing for. I didn't realize I was going for the night show. So when I got there, Andy Roth had told me that I was going to be interviewing for that. And I spent a little bit of time on the boards, on the message boards, but I felt that wasn't going to help me. So I really had to turn off the internet and just kind of find myself, because when I was in Akron, I was producing a radio show, and they said they kind of wanted me to be the heel of the show. So it was weird when callers would call in. I was actually being mean to the callers, and on purpose. And it just wasn't me. I don't like being a mean guy. Obviously, I get red-faced and I get passionate about things, but I'm not a mean person. And so I was really dismissive to people, and I didn't like doing it. And before I really got a chance to tell them I didn't like doing it, they blew them out, and they were like, all right, have at it. There you go. And so I did that, and it's basically been that ever since. But to really find my voice and to find confidence in it, it wasn't until it was time to raise a family.
Right.
and have them live on this before I really found myself doing it and establishing myself as one of the people that are here in this city.
And you may have lost the job a couple weeks before getting married, but there's a great story of you actually signing your contract at the wedding or right before the nuptials.
My boss, Andy Roth, we got married at Holy Name Church in Youngstown, which I think has been consolidated with the Catholic Diocese. I know it's a big week in Catholicism, so yeah, you know. And my boss came down, and he had me sign my contract on his back because we were getting ready to go on our honeymoon. It was great. My Uncle Dave came up, and my Uncle Dave thought Andy Roth, a Jewish man, was the pastor to get us married. He had no idea that we were getting married in a Catholic church. I'm like, Uncle Dave, what do you think we're standing in front of right now? So he had no clue, and he thought Andy was the guy getting us married. I'm like, no, this is my boss, Dave. Please go inside the church. I'll be with you here in a moment. So it's kind of it's almost out of a movie where, yeah, he turned around, I signed it. He gave me a handshake, he drove off, and then I got married, and we went on our honeymoon, and the day I came back, or the night after I came back, I should say, is when I first started on the station, was our first day.
Yeah. And Tone, for you, there's incredible video that is close to my heart that you guys play more often than not, closing out the show, and some of you may have heard it, where it says, you know, cool, I got on the last show. And that's a recording from actually the very last More Sports and Less Levine show on WHK. So to go from that kid and that voice that still resonates today, at what point did you find your voice?
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, like finding your voice. I can't stand how Ken tells a story on how they tried to shoehorn him into being like a bad guy on the radio, and that is as inorganic a type of ploy. It's like your listeners are going to see through that. People in the community are going to see through that. The difference is, unlike Ken, I was not a good person and was not a nice person. So I would have been perfect for that role. That would have been amazing. And now, unfortunately, I'm softening up as I'm a family guy later in life. I'm not as mean as I used to be. Because if I was as mean as I used to be, I would have gone off on the Browns draft like never before. And now I'm like, I kind of understand some of the method to the madness. To
you
some
understand
extent.
Dylan Gabriel last night?
I don't understand Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
Someone's going to have to sell me on that.
You can be understanding. I don't know if you're going to be that understanding.
I'm left-handed. I'm 5'11", 170.
They drafted Anthony Lima.
They drafted
third
me.
round, played quarterback for the Browns last night.
So I will say that, you know, finding your voice, though, it has to be an organic thing. And it's not something, you can see through it. You guys can all see through it when you see somebody who comes on, which Morris brother? They tried to throw a Morris brother on ESPN NBA coverage, and he is Markeith. He's just napalming some of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
I think he's gone off on Jokic. I think he's gone off on LeBron. It's like
it was the same thing with
all right,
Orlovsky.
dude, you don't believe any of this stuff.
Yeah, it was the same thing when. Listen, if you're going to do it, you can't admit it.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to do bits and things like that, you can't admit what you're trying to do there. And Dan Orlovsky made the mistake of admitting it, and I haven't really thought the same about what he said on the air since. I mean, honestly, and I know that he's a smart guy, and he's always seemed to be a good guy to us on the radio station. But I go, you can't admit that. It takes away some of the credibility of it because then they think it's a bit. You know, say what you want to about Skip Bayless. They always say if he's making it up, you can never tell because he's not going to let anybody in on it.
I believe that he believes.
And anybody we know that knows him says that same thing. So I at the time there was a popular show in Cleveland, and there was a person who was kind of like that heel type of person, and I just can't be that way.
Right.
And Lima, I always joke that I have a better bedside manner than Anthony, but you are who you are, and I think that if you ever try to fake who you are, they're going to be able to see through it, especially in a Midwestern city.
Right. We're here at the Great Lakes Collectors Convention, presented by Greeny Sports Cards on the Sports Cards Live stage. Powered by Collectibles on SI.
Hold on, Jeremy. What is the most expensive, what is the most coveted item in this building right now?
Do you know?
If you guys had any amount of money, what is the preeminent coveted item in this place?
There's a Fleer set with Jordan Rookie over there I saw. It's about $50,000.
Oh, my God.
$50,000?
The full set with a Jordan Rookie.
armed
highly
guards over
graded over there at Gemini Sports Cards. You can
Somebody
check that
buys
out.
that item and brings it up right now. Ken Carman will autograph that item
I don't think that's a good
Autograph the
idea.
Jordan rookie for you.
right now.
50
He'll
grand.
do it. He'll do it.
I'll wrestle you for it.
Yeah. So, somebody go buy that set. I want to see it. Let's talk about chemistry a little bit, because as the careers have evolved, Ken, you mentioned you started as the evening host. Anthony, you started as an update guy, 2020 Sports Updates. At some point, you guys came together in the morning. First of all, how did that come together? And second of all, was the chemistry natural over time, or did you guys have to sort of navigate this over the years and figure it
I'd
out?
like to hear you on that first, to be honest.
I could tell you that the two of us, when he was getting ready for his night show and I was doing updates on Bull and Fox, we had the best chemistry of any show that wasn't a real show in the country. Fast forward a few years when we actually got the show, we had one of the worst chemistries on the air you could ever imagine.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. It really was. It was really frustrating there. I keep messing with the mic like I'm Ricky Bobby. It really was. It was frustrating for us because we didn't really know how to do morning radio. We were going slow. I think we were kind of stuck in kind of doing impressions of what we thought should have been a good show instead of being ourselves. I thought once we were ourselves, obviously it's been successful and we've been able to do a much better job with it. But overall, I really do think that it started out because Anthony said the first time I ever met him, he's like, you're not going to like me at first, which was a weird thing I thought to say still to this day. But I did get along with him at the very beginning, and I've always gotten along with him. And I think that the reason it has been good is because we've said some things that you probably wouldn't say to anybody else, on air, off air, in private, public, doesn't matter. Anthony and I get over things very, very quickly. Very few things that are personal end up taking any longer than 5 minutes. There's really, I've never been with anybody who holds a grudge or can hold less of a grudge than I can other than Anthony. And I think it's actually made it a much more honest show where, there's some very tight things that we say about each other that you wouldn't say to other people, but I think it's made it so much better where we can get over it very, very quickly, and part of it is in that moment we're trying to beat each other in a debate, so it can be a little bit performative here and there.
Right. I think what people don't necessarily get to see, they do, but I'm fortunate I get to see it day in, day out through the day job, is that you guys both hold a tremendous amount of respect for each other, and it starts with that. And whatever you're doing it together as a part of the show. There's a respect on, if Ken's doing it, Anthony should be doing it. If Anthony's doing it, Ken should be doing it.
Well, can I tell you where that respect comes from, honestly? We don't really talk about this very much, because why would we admit on the radio that we have respect for each other? When people assume we hate each other's guts, sometimes we get in arguments. But you respect somebody who you think puts the work in, says what they believe, has conviction, and you know they're going to take you somewhere that is going to make sense. I think that develops over time. It's tough to have that right off the bat, but I think that speaks to how we've been able to do this for how many years now? 8?
9.
9 years, and we've done very well in a market on a station that didn't exist, right? I mean, our station, we've been here since the launch of the station in 2011. Didn't even exist. Yeah. And it took a few years for us to get on people's radars, to get Clevelanders, which has been a great radio market. I mean, you can ask people dating all the way back to why we're the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This has been one of the preeminent radio markets in the country. And to get people to change their habits is actually monumentally hard. Yeah. And to do it with a station that didn't exist, with not a ton of name recognition. I mean, if you think Bull and Fox, people knew Dustin Fox, a football player. Adam the Bull, people didn't know. Kylie and Booms had some national awareness because they did a show, but it had been a while. Ken, no name recognition whatsoever. I had no name recognition whatsoever. Baskin and Phelps had some in a TV range, but none on the radio. So to have that all come together in the way it did, I think that is how, if once listeners start to respect you, I think that's how hosts can easily respect each other, because the trust is built up over time.
Right. And over 9 years, what's built up is that audience credibility, the inside jokes, being in on some of the bits, and kind of knowing the rhythm of it, and then that exchange of the callers and the participation of those. What has surprised you over time in that dynamic between you, each other, and the show itself? You know, your job fundamentally is to fill 4 hours of radio in the morning, but what has surprised you over the years, maybe a guest or about each other, that you're really proud of that memory coming out of that show?
The relationship that it has with people, people from all walks. I've met people who have been shut-ins. I've met people who have been the titans of industry in Cleveland. They've all listened to it. It started to cross some generations. I mean, there were kids who are now going into the workforce who were listeners when they were getting taken to school by their dads. So that's been a lot of fun. And I think obviously, some of the callbacks that we've had over the years and some of the funner moments of the show and some of the things that we got to celebrate. We got to celebrate a championship in 2016 on the show.
How many people attended that parade?
1.3 million.
1.3 million. That's
yes,
right.
It was a scientifically done thing. And we also, we got to go to the playoffs with the Browns in 2020 after a very long period of time, and there was a lot of things going on in the world of that, so that was very special. But I do think that the most special thing to me is the relationship with a lot of the people that you see out and about in your daily life, and you understand how much of an impact that it does have, even for 10 to 15 minutes at a time as somebody's getting ready to go to work and do other things. It does make you feel good to be able to reach through the radio and at least have some sort of an impact on someone's day.
I'll tell you what surprises me is something that didn't exist when our station launched. Really, the internet was up and running, is the fact that at any given moment, anybody in here, there's 1,000 distractions like in this building right now, but yet we still have a group of individuals right here. We got a couple females, got a couple younger people, maybe a few older people, and we are competing with everything that's ever been invented in terms of media. We are competing with movies from the 1940s. We are competing with every song that's ever been created. You literally could have an excuse to not listen to us every day if the Browns had a bad loss, if the Cavs had a tough playoff loss, if the Browns had a bad draft pick. You have every excuse to go do anything else but listen to us. And the fact that I think we just have one of our better ratings books in the history of the station.
Yeah.
That is a testament. We must be doing something right. And the fact that we have that relationship, that we're still getting people to stop and not search out all the other stuff that's ever existed in the history of artwork. They still come to us and listen to us idiots talk sports. I think that's pretty cool.
They do, and the medium has changed. As we know, when you guys started, it was terrestrial radio, and people would tune in to 92.3 The Fan. But the evolution of the streaming and the devices, and you can connect anytime, anywhere, and listen to your content. And now there's the radio rewind feature, and they can listen to your show. And you've had the podcast evolution. It's really about content. And so now radio is audio, and audio is radio in our world, and people are connecting with that. You now have the emerging podcast, which is an evolution of the show itself. You do 4 hours, and then you guys get to have another program that lives on in perpetuity on the podcast space. Talk a little bit about that and what you hope to get out of that show that's different from the daily show you do Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
No, I think it's a little bit more laid back, but I also think that's an evolving show in what it is as its own little entity. There's days where it goes long. There's days where it goes short, depending on what our responsibilities are to the station and personally. I think that in itself has been a bit of a moving target over the last few years. But it's also been something that's been a little bit more fun to do than some of the other ones because you don't have to get them in the first 10 seconds the way you would in a morning show, in a regular radio show. So it's a little bit more that free form, a little bit more where we can explore some of the things that we don't always get to explore on a regular radio show.
I would agree. I think it's the chance that we can actually talk in length about things that in the morning we have a clock. We know you guys have a clock. You guys only got so much time in your car. You got to get going. You got to wake up your kids. You only have so much time. And so we are always feeling a breakneck pace to not only make our point, but move on to the next point. Sometimes we don't get long form, a chance to entertain some of our listeners who might be on the turlet for a little bit. Here, we're going to go longer. Maybe you're on a ride. Maybe you're driving. Maybe you've got an account you got to hit. It's 45 minutes away, and you're going to be in the car for a while. So it allows us to just give our full thoughts on anything that's going on. But it's a very, very cool opportunity. I'll tell you, not a day goes by that somebody doesn't tweet us about a podcast we had a month ago.
Yeah.
that was about our life, something that happened in our life or something that they can relate to, that they give us feedback because they banked all these episodes and they're going cross country. And I think that's very, very cool.
That is very cool. The astonishing thing in Cleveland that probably should not be surprising anymore is there's never a lack of storylines in this town, whether it's the Cavs, the Guardians, the Browns. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. But that being said, how much show prep do you guys do? You're 9 years into your show. You've got the podcast. How much are you doing, the day before a show or even leading up to it? Or at this point, are you guys just flipping on the mic and the dynamic and the chemistry allows itself to play out?
It's all day. I think it's an all-day process. I think that we've worked harder on this show over the last year or so than we have really in the previous 7 or 8. And I think part of that is, one, we kind of know how to work on it now. 2, because at first we really didn't. And there were some lean times there at the very beginning for about the first 6 months, just figuring out how to do this. Now when you look at the way the sports teams are, a lot of people, and I say this, it opens up a lot of people's eyes. I understand that there may have been some in the past that have enjoyed. It's a football area. They may have enjoyed the Browns not doing so well because people call in. Anthony and I can tell you on a stack of Bibles, it is not that way. People do not like to listen when they are really, really bad and they're not likable. And there's been a little bit of unlikability here and there over the last couple of years. And so it's made us try to do other things and focus on other things. And I think it's made us a lot better. Angles that come with the Cavs, angles that come with the Guardians, angles that come with the future of the Browns. This last draft was a lot of fun in the lead up to that, but also mixing that in with an historically good basketball team, unlike I thought I'd never see ever again after LeBron left again in 2018. So it's really forced us to think a lot differently about how things go. And plus, because we have the online presence. You have the podcast presence, like you said. We're eventually going to be going to full-time streaming here on the YouTube channel.
Ken's going to launch his OnlyFans. Finally, we've been begging him for years.
To it.
It's finally coming. I hate to let the cat out of the bag.
Going to be a show. Feet is going to be extra. I'm just going to let you guys know right now. It's really forced us to think differently and more creatively instead of just, all right, do you want this quarterback? Do you not want that quarterback? Why don't you want that quarterback? It's made us become more creative on some of the other things that we want to do, and some of the non-sports stuff that we want to do as well. So it's been a little bit more of a difficult process, but I think it's actually made the process more fun to get ready for a show.
Ken does a lot more prep than anybody that I've ever been around on this radio, especially when I used to maybe show up a little late and stay up a little late the night before when I was single, not married with children. But I will say, a lot of the prep, I think, that means a lot to me now, and I want to speak for Ken on this, but I know there are a lot of people in radio, not just in Cleveland, but everywhere, who are like, we are going to do the agenda setting. We are going to tell people what to care about. And I'm like, man, I don't think that our community responds to that. We want to make sure we're talking about what the community is hot on, right? Because we're not doing them a service, and they'll just go find it somewhere else.
Right, yeah.
And so I am always making sure, whether it's the 1,000 text threads I'm in, all my different friends that I still talk to, or when I'm out and about in the community, I'm making sure that we are talking about the things that matter to them, as opposed to talking about the things that matter to me and just saying that's what should matter to you. There are times when we'll step in, and I'll be like, I think everybody's missing this, but for the most part, I think we try to make it a partnership with our listeners.
Well, Lima is a little bit more humble than he comes off. I think that what we talk about is 95% what Lima wants to talk about, because he has an understanding of, oh, that's a cool drone. He has an understanding of I think he has a great ear for what people want to hear. And so I trust Lima implicitly on what people want to hear. This is going to sound like a shot because we take shots at other shows on our station. I'm not trying to do that. I react more to what people say in the street and what they say at a grocery store, or what they say at a church or a sporting event, than I do the other shows. I try to limit my listening to the other shows because I don't want to just turn it into a reaction of what Nick and Jonathan say or rip off what Nick and Jonathan say. You know, I'm not trying to turn it, no offense to those guys, and I feel that they wouldn't take offense to this and they feel the same way, is they don't want to turn it into the Ken and Anthony review, and I don't want to turn it into the Nick and Jonathan review. And so I'd rather just turn it into the review of somebody I met and somebody who came up to me at a high school football game and had this to say. I can't tell you how many conversations that start with, this guy said something, this guy tweeted something at me, that person said this, my father-in-law had that opinion, his father-in-law has many opinions. More conversations get started with people, some who aren't even listeners. If I'm on vacation or something, there's a conversation that gets started there. I'd rather do that than, I appreciate other shows. I think other shows do well. I'm not telling people not to listen to other shows, clearly not. But I'd rather get cues to talk about things on the air from the people outside than to do it on the air with the hosts, because I don't want to get insulated to what people are really talking about out and about in their daily life.
Something you guys may not think about consciously every day. It's probably there subconsciously at some point. If you could benchmark at this point of your careers, what do you hope that legacy is, and what do you hope to leave behind in Cleveland and maybe beyond? How do you want to be remembered in this business?
It's easy for me. When you have a year like 2016, when not only do you have a parade because you won a championship, you had a baseball team get to the World Series and almost win it. You had a football team that had their own historical benchmarks in a bad way. That people still come up to us talking about some of those shows. If people are doing that about various shows that we have 20 years from now, I feel really good about that. That's the stuff that matters to me.
My priorities, I think, have changed a little bit, but I've already think I've gone a little bit further in this than I really thought I ever was. I really have not thought beyond Northeast Ohio at any serious level. I also know now, like, hey, I'm 38. My kids are still young. I know that this type of thing isn't going to last forever. There will be an evolution. And so how do you kind of do it with a little bit of grace? We talk about Dick Fegler on the show here and there, and Fegler and Friends, but he always had a quote, you know, you got to know when to leave the fair. And I think that that's always kind of in the back of Anthony and I's head, going, you know, there's going to be eventually the mics are going to come off, and I got to be willing to move with that. So I've had 13 great years here. I hope to make it 20, and we'll see where life goes in 20. But I think that that's always kind of a moving target about how you want to do it, because I don't want to be one of the ones that hold on to it for too long. And I want to be able to recognize if I'm holding on to it for too long. And obviously still I haven't hit 40 yet, so I think that there's a lot of time left to go. But I want to make sure I'm doing it the right way, because if I can't do it the right way, I just never ever want to be one of these guys. And it sounds like it's lip service because we're on a thing right now. I just don't want to turn it all of a sudden one of the ones that resent the business, what the business has given us, what the listeners have given us. I don't ever want to be that type of person. And I've seen people in other markets become that type of person. It really becomes sad. And so that's something that I constantly, not constantly, but I think about a lot. Like how does this, what's the end game here where you walk away from it and still know what you did was great and then move on to other things?
It is a privilege to sit in front of that mic, and it's something you guys don't think about necessarily every day. You're in that box of the studio, and you're talking to each other, but the fan reaches hundreds of thousands of people on the air and online and across the country. We have listeners from everywhere. We've got Browns backers all over. So it is a privilege to be a part of that. It's a privilege to work with you guys. We're out here at the Great Lakes Collectors Convention presented by Greeny Sports Cards on the Card Show live stage, powered by Collectibles on SI. Before we let you guys go, this is a collectibles event. This is one of the largest, if not the largest, in Ohio for collectibles. There's about 230 tables worth of exhibitors and memorabilia. We've got this stage with personalities and athletes and coaches all weekend long. One, did you guys collect anything growing up? And two, is there anything of interest out to you here personally?
I collected baseball cards, and I collected Matchbox NASCARs. I had about 3 of the big tubs, but they were in the. It's hard for me to describe them. they had trays and they had little things for each tray, and then I collected them. I had a whole thing of Dale Earnhardt, which are packed away in a box in my dad's basement right now. That's my dad's. That's supposed to be my retirement, apparently. But I had a whole thing. I had a whole box of Dale Earnhardt, and then I had a box of just about everybody you could think of from the late '80s to the early '90s. My uncle was OCD before what we knew OCD was, an anal retentive, and he had die cast. He was a big car guy. He sold cars for a very long time. And he had everything, and he was so meticulous, he would take things and he would keep them all wrapped up in Ziploc bags and keep them. So there's some of those that we kept, some of those that we let go, but there's a lot of that's left over from the childhood.
Yeah, for me, baseball cards, football cards, not as much NBA. The NBA cards back in the early 90s were just not that big of a deal, but obviously baseball and football was. And I'll never forget, and we didn't have a ton of money, so if I got my parents to purchase a pack of cards, especially the Pro Set, I think the Pro Sets were a little more expensive. And What was the baseball card that had a little bit more of a shine on it? It had it wasn't Don Russ, wasn't Bowman.
You had Leaf.
Upper Deck.
Upper Deck.
Yeah, Upper Deck. But I'll never forget, I had tried to get this elusive football card, which was a ridiculous football card, and it was the Santa Claus football card. And I finally got it, and I thought it was worth $100,000. And then I took it to this place, this very seedy individual who was, able to distinguish what cards were fake, which ones were, legitimate, whatever. And I remember he offered me $20 for it, and I refused. And I went back and looked like a couple of years ago, and I think it was worth like 30 cents. So I should have taken the $20. And it was at that point I realized I don't know anything about collecting. I don't know anything about maximizing.
I mean, there was honestly, a decade ago it seemed like cards were on their ass.
Yeah.
And then anybody who held on to them, they're making out like crazy now. So I mean, these things come and they go. I'm still my late mother up in the attic. There's still a thing of Beanie Babies.
Your late mother is up in the attic?
No, she's not up. My late mother is actually in my office, but that's a different story. Up in the attic, there's a thing of Beanie Babies. We're still waiting to come back. So
it could happen. This we're not going to get into detail now, but this industry exploded over COVID, and there's a lot of reasons for that, of people going back into their basements and their attics and
so the
time.
Collectors were responsible for what happened in this country in 2020. That's what we're saying.
They don't know you're joking.
Oh, okay.
They might not know you're joking there.
So we're wrapping up here with Ken Carman and Anthony Lima from the Ken Carman show with Anthony Lima on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan, heard weekdays Monday through Friday on 92.3 The Fan, as well as the emerging podcast that we touched on. People can hear your opinions on those shows, of course, but we've got a big Cavaliers game today in the playoffs, Game 3 against the Miami Heat. The Cleveland Browns in the NFL will wrap the draft. Not necessarily prediction-wise, but just give us a little bit of takeaway, an interesting, different take that you may have on the Cavs and the Browns that you're not going to hear on the show.
I'll say this. I haven't had a chance because we had the draft. So Cavaliers tip off, hour and a half from now, 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
I think the temperature just got turned up immensely because of this war of words between Darius Garland and Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
I've watched every other playoff series, okay? Not every game, but every other playoff series. The Cavs and Heat have been the least physical of all the playoff series. And what I'm wondering is if this war of words all of a sudden ratchets up things a little bit, especially because it's in Miami. They're going to have some pride. Cavs are a way better team. Cavs have way more talent. I think Darius is going to play. He was limping around at the end of the game. They were talking about a toe. I could understand if the Cavs actually held him out, but I haven't seen any updates when it comes to him. I think we're going to have a physical game, and I think it's going to be really important for the Cavs. Put their stamp on this. Put your foot on the throttle and take care of this.
If he was limping around, he probably should have kept his mouth shut, to be honest with you, because he's not going to be the one who's able to answer for that. I look at Game 3 always like Custer's last stand. I think that obviously if the Cavs win this one, it's definitely over. But it's the first one on the road. I get nervous for these sort of things, so I'm glad it's earlier in the day so we can get out of the way and move on either one way or the other, hopefully in the good way. As far as the Browns are concerned, I'll just give everybody a preview. We got a chance to talk to Dylan Gabriel yesterday. He's a fine young man. This isn't a Shedeur Sanders type of thing. I think that I have to realize that I don't think there's collusion. I don't think there's craziness from what some of the people who, like me, who shut their mouth off about Shedeur Sanders are thinking. I just think he's a prospect that they don't like, and they don't want to bring him in. And so other teams are just not going to bring this guy in, and the Browns were more comfortable bringing in Dylan Gabriel. That said, I don't think he's going to see the field for a while this year, if at all. I think they're going to take a quarterback early next year, and I would have rather just taken a guy who might compete on special teams and start at some point in the third round. Nothing against him. I just disagree with the choice that was made. Hopefully he'll prove me wrong, but I just don't think he will. I think hopefully he's got what it takes to be a backup in this league, but I don't take what hopefully can be a backup here or there at the third round. I just don't do it.
There's going to be no shortage of opinions, Ken, on the Browns and what happened in this draft, but you were a part of the radio coverage, tremendous coverage both nights, night 1 and 2. You were there with every pick, along with Nathan Zagura and Gerard Cherry and Andrew Siciliano, covering the draft. So you are somebody with the perspective that saw every pick come in, every team come in. Give us just kind of a quick recap of what maybe surprised you as a part of that, or some of the storylines that aren't being populated out there.
Well, I wasn't as surprised because Lima had been talking about it for 3 weeks, and it seemed that they were working on that trade for 2.5 weeks. So Lima knew something that I didn't know about what was going on with the trade down and going and getting Mason Graham. Now, I knew that they liked Mason Graham, but I thought they were just going to stick with Travis Hunter. I didn't realize Jacksonville was going to give them all that. But that's been talked about here. I'm surprised they went so heavy defense to start things off. Carson Schlesinger seems like a fine young man, but I got to tell you, I only saw a handful of UCLA games. He was impressive in his workouts. He was impressive in his interviews. We'll see what the young man has. Quinshon Judkins, boy, I love him. He's a fire plug. I might have taken Trevion Henderson before him. They were only a couple of picks away. We'll see how that one works out. They're supposed to know better than me. Harold Fannin, it's crazy. I love the Harold Fannin pick, and
we've been talking about Harold Fannin for the better part of 6 months.
Yeah, I got friends, and Lyman's called his game, so Lyman knows him. And it's easy for me to love the guy because he's from Canton. I think there was some sour grapes with a couple of our friends at a certain university, and I'm going to leave that at that. And I love those guys, but I think there was some sour grapes. I think that he's going to come in and he's going to contribute. He's only 20 years old. I think him and I remember David Ajoku's a July birthday, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm pretty positive Harold Fannin is too.
Yep.
Again, the Dylan Gabriel thing, hopefully they're right. He does have a good live arm for a guy who's 5'11". He does have a really live arm, and we got a chance to talk to him yesterday. That's an adult. That is no kid. I'm not going to call him a kid. He definitely talked to us like a grown man. I'll tell you this, though. We're going to have to play the audio on Monday. He wanted somebody, and I happen to be the person to ask him the question about the weather. Somebody had showed him Reflog's video. I guarantee it. Somebody had showed him that before these interviews. Okay. Yes, of the weather and what he was saying about sunny weather, because he's like, I'm glad you said it. I tell you, and he started going through. He became Dick Goddard of all the weather patterns he had played in his college career. So that's something he's definitely aware of as he comes to Cleveland.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, very, very proud of you guys. Pleasure to work with you. I appreciate the time today and this opportunity to talk about your journey. We wish you nothing but continued success, personally and professionally.
Thank you.
But again, thank you very much. This has been Greeny Sports Cards live from the Great Lakes Collectors Convention, presented by Greeny Sports Cards. We are here on the Card Shop Live stage, powered by Collectibles on SI. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll be out here all weekend at the Great Lakes Collectors Convention. And we'll see you soon.